Hello everyone, and welcome to the Sims lore. Today, we're exploring the fictional world in which all Sims games are set in, SimNation. Don't forget to subscribe and like this if you enjoyed it. Alright, let's get into the video. So SimNation is a fictional world in which all Sims games are set in, where its inhabitants are called Sims, their currency is the simoleon, the national animal is the llama? Fun fact, I actually looked into this and the llama is the national animal of Bolivia. SimNation's national language is Simlish, although we can see from these posters and prints that English is sometimes used. We'll see a bit later on in the video that it's safe to say SimNation is based on the United States of America. I'm going to introduce this with a really brief history of SimNation. I will have a more in-depth video about this at a later stage. So from what we know so far from object descriptions, chance cards, and more, SimNation kind of developed like real-life Earth. Dinosaurs roamed millions of years ago, and so did the Australopithecus afarensis, which is based on the real Australopithecus afarensis primate, which lived in Africa between 3.9 and 2.9 million years ago. But more on that in-depth information in a later video. In The Sims Vacation, Sim natives were said to have inhabited Vacation Island before the resorts, lodges, and other recreational facilities were built. It is also said that they inhabited Wanmami Island in The Sims Castaway stories. Sim natives also killed Admiral Landgrab, as mentioned in the famous painting from the first Sim game. I have a really in-depth video on the Landgrabs, which I'll link down below if you haven't already seen it. If we look at The Sims Medieval, we can tell that SimNation used to have a monarchy, meaning they had royals, which is not the case anymore in modern times, as SimNation is a republic with an elected leader of the free world, which directly references the United States of America. There are several Sim families which are of noble descent, such as the Vanderbergs from Hidden Springs in The Sims 3, where the matriarch, Katarina, is the leader of the free world. Their bio reads, "Descendants from a long line of royals, Her Royal Highness Katarina Vanderberg is at her wit's end. It's about time her children start considering the future of the Vanderberg name. Too bad the princess has gone missing and the last thing on the prince's mind is settling down." In Midnight Hollow in The Sims 3, there's also the Winchester family, whose bio reads, "Odessa and Cedric come from a long line of blue-blooded royals, but had their throne usurped when the townsfolk felt that they were a bit too crazy to be rulers. They found a town where they feel comfortable and they're trying their hand at politics. Royalty here, royalty there, what does it matter when you're royalty?" So just like the Vanderbergs, the Winchesters turned to politics to hold their power over the towns. There also appears to be royalty within the Sim natives, called the Manave family, who live in Felicity Island in the Sims Castaway stories. The patriarch, Fangaloka, is described as a leader in his bio, which reads, "Fangaloka is a wise and kind leader, who should perhaps keep a closer watch on his daughter." So let's have a look at geography. SimNation's location is widely speculated throughout the community. It is said to be located on Earth, as this picture might suggest, taken from inside one of the schools in The Sims 3. Still inside the school, we can also see a map of the United States, so many speculate that SimNation could be part of the US, explaining why some players would call it Simerica. SimNation is a large country with many different climates, deserts, mountains, tropical islands, and temperate areas. For example, Pleasant View is a suburb of a city in a temperate climate, whereas Strangetown is a small desert town based on either Area 51 in Nevada or Roswell, New Mexico in the United States, both areas famous for UFO sightings. So from this, it's safe to say that SimNation is roughly based on the US. However, there's never been a clear geographical picture of what SimNation might look like. A user on Reddit named Rasmus created a map using all of the lore we know so far from the Sim series. I got in touch with him and he sent me an updated version of it, so huge thank you and shout out to Rasmus. His username is Rasmus on Reddit, so go check his page out, I'll have it linked down below. Okay, now let's look at the government and politics of SimNation. In The Sims, Sims 2, and Sims 2 Pets for console, your sim could reach the top of the political career as mayor. In The Sims 3, mayor is only level 7 of the political career, with governor as level 8, vice president as level 9, and leader of the free world as level 10, whose description reads, "Without peer, your sim is in charge. The world has voted you in as their sworn leader. Defender of truth, justice, and basic sim rights, you, the leader of the free world, must work for the people more than ever. Beware of agents of evil, corruption within your government, and those not willing to serve the people above all else. This is your chance to leave your mark on the world, and it'd be a fair shame to squander it with scandal and shoddy decisions." Interestingly, in The Sims 3, Sims have to collect government funding as part of their performance. This can be done by asking Sims around the neighborhood or throwing campaign fundraiser parties. Through all the references to the US, it's implied that SimNation has a similar government that is a federal democratic republic with an elected president. However, it's not clear how democratic the government in The Sims is, as there are no clear elections for the position of leader of the free world, except in The Sims 4. When The Sims 4 City Living came out, it introduced a new career in politics, which was a bit more interactive than previous political careers. Your Sims can choose from a list of causes which they can promote as they continue their political career. These are No Sim Left Behind, Simoleons for Everyone, Speak for the Trees, World United, and the Foundation for Less Mischief. After a promotion from career level 4, the sim is able to choose from 2 different branches, politician or charity organizer. The top of the politician branch, at career level 10, is a national leader. The description reads, "As the national leader, you command the respect of countless citizens. You've clearly done something right to garner so many votes. Or perhaps you just kissed the right baby? Soak it in, you've arrived." I really loved both Sims 3 and Sims 4 political careers, as you can interact with them a bit more. I especially liked throwing campaign fundraiser parties and gather all of the snob Sims in the neighborhood. Let's have a look at law and the military in SimNation. We'll start with the military. SimNation has an all-volunteer force. This means that Sims in the military career can join voluntarily as opposed to conscription, which means Sims would be forced to join the army at a certain age. This is also similar to the United States military in that it is volunteer-based. Because this career track acts like any other, Sims can easily quit or get accepted, which in real life would not be easy. Elders and teens can also work in the military career part-time. Okay, so let's look at law. SimNation has a police force with stations throughout towns and cities, as seen in The Sims 3 and Sims 4. In SimCity, you are able to build large federal prisons, whereas in The Sims 3 and Sims 4, criminals are sent to a jail within the police station. Okay, now on to education. School in SimNation is compulsory for all children and teens. Children are sent to public school by default, but there is an option to send them to private school or even boarding school, for which tuition fees must be paid. In The Sims 3, Sims of all ages can take different classes around town depending on what they're interested in. Diners and restaurants run cooking classes, while science labs run logic, gardening, science, inventing, and scuba diving classes. SimNation has higher education available to young adult Sims in the form of universities. Up until The Sims 3, there were no tuition fees or student debt other than regular bills. However, in The Sims 4, your Sim could take out a loan in order to enroll in university, much like real United States, where university isn't free. What do you guys think about the addition of university fees and loans in The Sims? Do you enjoy playing with the realism, or do you prefer The Sims 2 system of just paying for regular bills and dorms? Let me know in the comments below. Okay, so let's have a look at SimNation's healthcare. I have a whole video on Sims diseases if you're interested, which I'll have linked down below. Hospitals were introduced in The Sims 3, as before that, Sims could cure themselves of illnesses at home. As most illnesses aren't life-threatening, hospitals don't add that much to gameplay. However, they're still a huge part of a Sim's life. Pregnant Sims can give birth at the hospital for free, while getting flu shots, allergy shots, being admitted for instability, or getting therapy for a midlife crisis are not free. In The Sims 4, pregnant Sims can give birth in the hospital, and there are several new illnesses which Sims can get treated. And since it's not a rabbit hole, you can follow your Sims in and see them get treated and give birth. Well, lying in a really weird looking machine while having their baby clawed out of them. So life in SimNation seems to be a good one. I mean, healthcare isn't free, and university eventually became free in The Sims 2 if you look at it from the canonical timeline. I read a few comments from my woohoo and sexuality video that The Sims is supposed to be a utopia, and I really wanted to talk about that for a little bit. The Sims series has a very neutral view of society, in my opinion, in which society never evolves beyond how it started out. A definition for utopia is a place of ideal perfection, especially in laws, government, and social conditions, or is an imagined place or state of things in which everything is perfect. If The Sims were a utopia, some realistic attributions wouldn't exist, such as being able to be poor, neglect your children, become a criminal, go to jail, be mean, cheat, lie, fight, have corruption in the political career, and many more. Of course, The Sims don't portray all the crimes from the real world. I think if they would, no one would play the game. Or would they? What do you guys think? Would you play the game if it was a hyper-realistic simulation of real life? Would that overwhelm you or give you another type of escape? I think that some realistic small crimes in The Sims are good and add that extra realism and space for any type of gameplay, whether you want to be a hero or a criminal. And I believe you can't simulate life or create a realistic world without adding this in, or without the game being really boring. If it was a real utopia, everything would be perfect all the time, no crime or corruption of any sort would exist, and healthcare and education would be free. So interestingly, the modding community is actually adding to the realism in The Sims. Modders are breaking apart the ordained representation of life and are choosing their own. They're going beyond the creator's representation of life. And The Sims is a god game with a bird's eye view of people who, left to their own devices, do absolutely nothing. If you are the god and the controller, does that mean that they have free will? Okay guys, so there you have it, lots of info on SimNation and a bit of philosophical ramble at the end. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons Alice, Olivia McSwain, Negative Dana, and Papa Khan. Thank you guys for supporting my channel. That's it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like the video if you enjoyed it, and let me know your theories in the comments below. Follow me on Twitter for more lore and updates. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!